a tiny Halloween. There is a tiny woman who lives in a tiny house in a very big forest. About this time, every year, when the weather grows cold, the tiny woman has a problem that is not so tiny. The wind comes howling through the trees and the leaves fall until the tiny house is buried from the ground to the roof. Inside the tiny house is dark as midnight. It is, to be sure, a tiny big scary. Oh, who will save me? Cried tiny woman in her tiny voice. No one heard her. She tries a tiny bit louder. Who will save me? Then one more time, as loud as he can. Oh, who will save me? Still no one comes. I'm going to have to talk louder than that, says the tiny woman to herself. She reaches into the what to do. The tiny woman opens a tiny drawer and takes out a tiny teaspoon. She taps it on the window, but her tiny table tap, but no one comes. She reaches into the drawer again and grabs her biggest wooden missing spoon. Tap. Still no one comes. How can she make more noise? The tiny woman looks around. She opens her cupboard door. Aha! She says in her tiny voice, I will bang my boss. And bands together. Someone is sure to hear that. She clangs her soup pot and her fry pan together. No loud enough. She pulls out her cookie together, nothing, no what. The tiny woman wondered, then looking at her cookie sheets and her wooden spoon, she has an idea. She takes a tiny bowl from her tiny cupboard and she mixes up sugar and butter and flour and egg with just the teeniest drops of vanilla and a tiny mountain of chocolate chip. She plops tiny spoonful of batter on her cookie sheet and carry the tray to the oven. While the cookie bakes, an orange cat, a ghost, and a witch are working in the forest near the tiny house. Snip, snip, the cat says, smell cookie. The witch announced, where is what delicious smell coming from? The ghost asks, all then see overing the forest floor are leaves and twigs and by needle and more leaves. But wait, one pile of leaf is in the shape of a house. They begin to ding. The cat on all hours kicked away the dry leaf. Crackle, crackle. The witch swept lead away with her broom. The cat on a and the ghost fan them away with his billowing sleeves. Ooh. Inside the tiny house, the tiny woman puts on her tiny pot holder glove and take the cookie from the oven. They are golden and melty and go! This may be my best batch ever, she said in her tiny, tiny voice. Much better last year. She carries the tray to the tiny, tiny table near the tiny, tiny window. Outside, the smell is so loose and tempting, and then the cat, the witch, and the ghost did even faster. It's a tiny, tiny house. The witch said, they did some more. They see the tiny, tiny door. Put all the leaves away. A knock. Tap, tap, tap. The tiny, tiny woman takes 3 tiny, tiny steps toward the door. He take a deep breath and she asks, loud as she can, who's there? Did you hear something? The ghost asked. The witch said, the cat knocked one more time, and all 3 saw trick or treat. The tiny, tiny woman clapped her tiny, tiny hand. She opened the tiny, tiny door. There is a cat and a witch. A god put the tiny, tiny woman. Ignored the tiny, big scare. She smiled her warmest, tiny, tiny smile, and in her happiest voice, below, welcome. I've been waiting for you. Then all 4 sit down and cut the tiny, tiny chocolate chip cookie. Yum, 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 the end.